I knew I was a boy from little time. I wanted to be a boy, and I'm in the wrong body. And when I heard the term transgender, that's when I went and googled it, and the whole definition made sense. They took me to a psychiatrist because they wanted to understand as well. But unfortunately, the counselor mixed intersex and transgender, and then the counselor suggested I should go to conversion therapy. So before entering a medical transition, you should understand what you are getting into, but how people would treat you if they know you are trans.
Hi, I'm Aritha, and welcome to another episode of Stigma, the show that talks about things that no one really wants to talk about, the show that shares stories which no one really wants to hear, but most importantly, the show that empowers the voices that need to be heard. This is Stigma, and on this episode, I have with me the wonderful Thilina Anoma. Thilina, you're a graduate of psychology. You are a well-known social media advocate on various issues, and you're a content creator as well. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
For the second time, actually. You are the only person who's come twice for this show, so I'm really excited to have you again.
Me too.
But I mean, this time we're going to talk something a bit different to what we spoke about last time. One of the things which came out is, you were born and assigned female at birth, but now you are a man. Can you tell me, when did you first realize that you were a transgender male?
I knew I was a boy from little time. I wanted to be a boy, and I'm in the wrong body. But the first time I got to know the term transgender was when I was 18. So it's actually a funny story. My father was calling for me for something, and that was the time he had concerns with the way I dressed, shirts and the masculine clothing. So I was 17, 18 at that time, and he was like, she might be transgender, and that's the time I pinpointed the term. And then I went and googled it, and then it made sense, the whole definition of being transgender and everything.
Did you feel like as a female, as a girl, that you didn't fit in?
I never felt like a girl, to be honest. I felt like I was in a wrong body all the time. From a little time, I felt I was in the wrong body.
You went to Museus College, which is an all-girls school. What was that like? I mean, being a trans male child, or at least internally feeling that you're a boy, yes, but you are in an all-girls school. Like, what was that like for you?
To be honest, I had a good school experience. Unlike most trans people, I had a really good school experience, because one thing, I was like the only boy in the class, sort of a thing, because I was tomboyish with short hair, always doing sports and everything. So like everyone liked it. Like it was like, and even the teachers were supportive in the sense they didn't know anything about trans. Even I didn't know anything about transgender, but like they liked the boyish, the mischief and everything. They loved it. So I really had a good school experience.
When did you tell your parents?
19, after my A-levels.
Okay. And how did they react?
Initially, they didn't have a good response, because it was... Actually, I wrote a letter to them because I was scared to express. I'm not someone who talks at home. I'm like reserved and, minding my own business and everything. So I don't talk much at home. So revealing that much of a personal identity related thing was a huge step for me. So I couldn't get myself to talk to them, so I wrote everything down, what I felt since childhood, and all the experience I went at school, how I felt about my body, and how I found out about the surgeries and everything. So it was like a very detailed thing with the hormones and surgeries and everything. So it was too much on them. They were like, it was like a bomb. It's an explosion, so they didn't take it well. They took me to a psychiatrist because they wanted to understand as well. But unfortunately, I was happy because we went to a psychiatrist and he recommended a counselor under him. So I was happy. I was like, finally someone can explain this to my parents. But unfortunately, the counselor mixed, intersex and transgender. And then the counselor suggested I should go to conversion therapy, and that's where I knew this is not.
What do you mean by suggesting you go for conversion therapy?
Conversion therapy was a method used in it's still in use, but it's an illegal process now. It's something used to convert your gender. So I was assigned female at birth and I identified as male. So for me, the conversion therapy would be assigning myself, redirecting me to be female. So that's what conversion therapy means. So I knew that was not the time for me, and I didn't know any way to explain, and the counselor I went also mixed everything up. So I was like, okay, I'm not transgender, let's go back home and get life back to normal.
So you went back into the closet?
Yes.
Okay.
Closet in the sense at home. By that time I was already out on social media. I actually
as a trans man.
Yes, I hid my social media profiles from my family. So first I came out on Insta. Right after I found out I accepted me as a trans man, I came out on Insta and I started writing about my experiences, because TikTok was, I think, out at that time, but I was not familiar with that platform. So I wrote on Insta about my experiences and everything. So by that time I was out, but my family, I was still closeted.
When did you actually come out again to your family?
So I came out for 4 years. I came out again and again, once a year. So yeah.
And they accepted you finally?
They said okay, because they didn't see any other option. Because I was telling this again and again, and they were like, okay, there must be something to this. So finally at that point, I have done my research about all the doctors in Sri Lanka and everything, and who knows about trans identities and everything. So I consulted the psychiatrist and I took them, and the doctor explained there's no other way to do this other than him transitioning medically. So after that, they accepted.
What was that? So you entered now the healthcare system of Sri Lanka, right? So what was that medical process like? So you found a psychiatrist.
Yes.
What was the assessment? How did they treat you? Did you feel safe or respected by your psychiatrist?
Yes. So the process in Sri Lanka is when I went to the psychiatrist, he's the most renowned person for the transgender clinics and everything. I won't say the name here, but he's the most renowned person. So when I went to him, I had done my research. I had already figured out everything, and I knew all the about me and about the Sri Lankan trans healthcare system, everything. So with me, I think it was kind of easy for him. It was just explaining it to my parents, because I had already done my research and I had gone through the social transitioning. So that's the first step here. To enter the trans medical healthcare, you need to first undergo the social transitioning. Before the social transitioning, when a person goes to a psychiatrist or the clinics, gender clinics, they'll assess you. They'll do a psychological evaluation. They'll ask questions about your childhood, how you felt about your body and everything. Then they would suggest you undergoing the social transition, because it's not going from one gender to another, but if you see it in a social perspective, it's going one gender to another. People saw you as a certain gender, but now you are saying, no, I'm this gender and you should call me that way. So that's a huge transition. And for that, so before entering a medical transition, you should understand what you are getting into, how people would treat you if they know you are trans. So you need to get ready yourself and how others would treat you. So for that, the first step, social transitioning, is the first step you should start with. And that's what the doctors also recommend. You have to go through the social transition.
And then were there any other medical interventions after that?
Medical interventions, so first they do all the blood work and everything to test your body whether you are ready for first. So after the social transitioning, in the medical transition, first step is the hormone therapy. So for hormone therapy, your body should be ready with everything. Medical, if you have certain medical conditions, you can't undergo hormone therapy. So for that, they first do mainly it's blood work. so they do the blood work, they check the results, and if everything is fine, they'll recommend you the hormone therapy. They'll prescribe you the hormone therapy. Yeah.
How was it like to start hormone therapy? Were you scared?
Not actually. I was really happy.
Okay.
Because I was scared when I first found out about being transgender and all the hormone therapy surgeries, and then I was scared. But after like slowly doing my research, finally starting to accepting it, and seeing other trans men from other countries being visible on social media, like they have their whole timeline with so for trans men it's testosterone therapy. So they have their whole timeline on their social media, what testosterone therapy does, like this is 1 month, 6 months, 1 year. So I was excited to start hormone therapy. Yeah.
Okay, and what was it like for your body to actually start taking hormone therapy?
So body wise it was a bit hard because it's like going through a second puberty.
Okay.
So it's like again a hormonal imbalance is there until for like 6 months. So like, and testosterone is a hormone where you have like your hunger levels go up, your sex drives go up. So until the first 6 months it's like a whole thing inside our head. And plus we are not anymore teens, right? We are adults, responsible adults. So it's like it's a clash between the two. We can't act irresponsible, but our body, our hormonal levels try to make us irresponsible. It's like whole clash if you start the hormone therapy after you are 20s, 21. But that's how it's in Sri Lanka, because you can't start hormone therapy if you're under 18. You can't start any medical transition if you're under 18. They'll keep you in psychological evaluations until you are 18. If you go with a parent, then they'll consider, but still there are no reported cases where the kid was like under 18 and starting medical transitions in Sri Lanka.
So you have to be an adult to go through that transition process. Yeah. And I mean, aside from the physiological challenges you were going through with hormone therapy, was it psychologically challenging for you? Did you experience depression, or did you experience like some kind of euphoria?
So I experienced euphoria because finally I'm getting to see the changes I identified. But all the same, to be more masculine, the dysphoria was high. I was like, I'm not man enough. I'm not, because the testosterone is now there, the dysphoria became higher.
Okay.
Euphoria was there, but I was like, I'm not man enough. I'm not man enough. I should be more manly. So it was again a clash. But after it's because of the hormonal imbalance. You need to be like 6 months in, then again it's your body gets used to the hormone and the urges it have. So it's like.
And what were the changes you were seeing in your body, and were the medical professionals helping you through these changes?
Medical professionals in the sense, so I went for my first consultation was before COVID, and then COVID happened. So there was a possibility I couldn't get hormones, but I knew the trans community and I had friends, so they told me where to buy hormones and everything. So my process happened for first 2-3 months I didn't have any medical consultations after the initial blood work and everything. But the process goes until 6 months you have to go in, check in with the doctor every month to check the blood work after hormones, whether everything is fine. And after 6 months, when everything is fine and back to normal, you don't have to go in that regularly, but at least twice a year you need to go and check in and get your blood work done, because this is something, it's not that simple. So we are getting hormones outwardly, so you have to be checking.
Did you have to do any other medical interventions?
So after the hormone therapy, like 2 years after that, I did my top surgery.
Okay.
It's like top surgery, or we call it mastectomy. Even women with breast cancer, they also get the surgery. So we normally call it top surgery. Medical wise, they call it mastectomy. So it's like removing the breast tissue from your body. Yeah.
And in order to do that surgery, and when what was the process? I mean, was it a psychiatrist who said you can go ahead with
Yes,
it?
again, you have to go through a psychiatric evaluation. So you need to have your legal documents changed to get that done. Because to the point where you get your legal documents changed, you should be at least 6 months into the hormone therapy and undergone psychological evaluation. So doctors keep asking, because if you are misinformed, you can go into transitioning thinking it's a solution for something else. So like I did a psychology degree, so I had cases where my lecturers had cases where like women come to therapy saying, I want to be a transgender man, I want to transition as a man because men have it easier, because we still live in a patriarchal male dominant society. So women come and say, I want to transition into a man. So likewise, people might come misinformed into the transition. So you should make sure they are actually trans men, they actually have a trans identity. So you should go, it's not judging whether you're trans enough or not, no, it's like helping the person identifying what they're going through and like helping them understand this is a huge process if you're going through it. So after those psychological evaluations, you will go to the legal transition. After the documents, only they'll let you go to surgeries.
And did you find the health system, was it supportive or sensitive towards your needs to when you were going through that sort of physical transition and the surgical transition?
Surgical transition. So positive in the sense, there are both sides to it. So psychiatrists who understand about the trans experience, they're actually positive. They help you in every way they can. But their staff, the people like handling the clinics, coordinating around there can be like discriminative looks, or like with the tone they speak to you, and you can feel, okay, this person is not accepting trans identities, they just do it because they have to. So that's there. But overall, Sri Lanka has a positive trans healthcare system with my experience.
Okay. I mean, say post your gender affirmation, post your surgery, you are living as a man now, right? And very presentable, very handsome man you are.
Okay.
What's it like now as a trans man to navigate through the healthcare system? Say you have another illness, you have a cold or flu or a heart condition. I mean, let's hope you don't. But when you go to the doctor, do you come out to your doctor? Do you inform your doctor that you're actually a trans male?
In a medical environment, you have to reveal that you are trans, because it's a major part of your body, and if you're going for any treatments, if there is an allergic reaction to whatever you are taking with your surgeries and hormones and everything, it's going to be a massive problem. So it's a must you tell your trans identity and state your medical condition now, whether you are in hormone therapy, whether you have done surgeries. But the thing is, it's hard because still our healthcare system doesn't know about trans bodies, about what it's like, what's in a trans man's body, what's in a trans woman's body. So it's like, and we live in a society where women's bodies are sexualized all the time. So we trans men feel it as well. We are like, so in a patriarchal society, it's like being a man is like going a status upwards. So we are like, how can we reveal that we have this body to this doctor and expect whether that doctor would discriminate us, not discriminate us? So
are trans men, would you say, are still subject to sexual violence?
They can be subject to. That's one part. Like the whole trans activism focuses on not revealing trans bodies because of the sexual discrimination they might go through. But my point of view is, as long as if the people are unaware about trans bodies, if the healthcare system doesn't know what the trans body is, no matter what we do, there won't be acceptance. Like, they won't see us. So we need to be visible. We need to talk about these and put them out for people to know. That's how we normalize stuff. But the risk is still there.
So what would you tell another trans person who is thinking of coming out, or is just coming out and is seeing all of this sort of negativity and misinformation against people like you and them, this person who's now seeing this, what would you tell that trans person?
Before focusing about anything outside, focus about people around you. People, your best friends, loved ones, family, and mainly focus on yourself. What makes you happy? You might be scared, but if you are not happy with who you are, you can't go forward. So main thing is first focus on yourself, then focus on your loved ones, the people who you can trust. After, you can't keep your eyes and mind closed to whatever happening outside, but if you are to face whatever happening outside, you need to be strong yourself. So first point is focus on yourself, focus on your identity and growing yourself, then focus on your loved ones, family, people who you can trust.
And what would you tell, say, a doctor or a nurse or a medical technician who's watching this show? What kind of advice would you give them when it comes to having trans patients?
Well, right now for them it might be difficult because just like any other person in the society, they haven't seen many trans bodies coming in to get treatments. So you might be surprised if the person reveals themselves and this is my body, this is what my body is like. You might be surprised, but at the end of the day, we should respect everyone. So when a patient comes and tells, this is what I've gone through, this is what I'm doing, even though even in psychology we say, no matter if a criminal comes to you and to get counseling, you should detach yourself and your values aside. Even you have a discriminative point of view, you have to keep it aside and do the counseling session for that person. So that's what the medical field should also do. But be respectful, try to ask questions and learn from that person. That's the point, is be respectful and just treat the patient. Yeah.
And what would you tell the young Thilina, realizing the point that you were realizing you were trans and you were scared to tell your parents or your friends? What would you tell him?
Well, for him, I would love to say everything worked out. You are now the boy you always identified with, and still you might have doubts about your masculinity, but everything worked out and it's still working out. You are working, you are in a progress, you're progressing, but yeah, everything worked out.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much, Thilina. Thank you for coming again for this show and inspiring not just me but a lot of other people out there and being such a role model for everyone. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.